Hey, everybody, and welcome to Feel Good Friday with Rachel on Church at Home with Rachel. Glad to see you all here. Going to talk about the camp again, this time a little lighter. I'm going to talk about relationships today because one of the glorious things that gets to happen because I'm a bishop is there's like built-in doors, like access points. So have you ever gone into a situation where you're just yourself and you walk in and you have that, especially if you're someone like me, a little bit introverted and not really great with crowds, where you walk in and you have no access point. You're just wandering into something just because you're there, and you have no intro, nobody on your arm to introduce you as, or something like that. It can be really awkward, can it? It can be uncomfortable, unless you're that kind of person who just walks in and takes over the scene. I'm not like that. However, as a bishop, there's a whole different world, because when I walk in, it's not really Rachel who walks in, it's Bishop who walks in, which is this totally surreal thing, this whole people calling me Bishop. I'm used to people call me Rachel or Pastor or something, but mostly just Rachel. And now it's Bishop. Like on the last weekend, when Rob was in the kitchen and he tried to get my attention, he kept yelling Rachel and I wasn't paying attention, so he'd yell Bishop and I'd turn around. It's context, right? For everybody else there, I'm Bishop except for him. And so it was by Bishop that I was answering. Well, the very first night, for Friday night, we got together, and there's always, we break the kids at camp into groups, different colors, and then each group has responsible for chores. One group is responsible for the dining hall, so setting up for dinner, setting the tables, making the juice, which is saying it's juice is something because it's a pitcher of water with crystals. Kids love it though, so okay. And it's the most inexpensive kind of juice there is. They have to set the tables, get the ketchup and things like that out, set the tables. The tables are square with wooden benches. And when they finish when they clean up after the meal, they clean off the tables, they put the benches back up on top of the tables, they sweep the floors, things like that. So there's one group that's for kitchen, one group that is to make sure that the grounds are clean and the rec hall is clean, and then one group that does bathrooms, and then they rotate through so nobody gets stuck doing one thing. Well, the very first night we didn't have groups, so we had no one assigned to set up to clean up after supper. So everybody was looking around thinking who's going to do what. So I said, okay, I need 5 people to say yes, Bishop. 5 young men all said, yes, Bishop. And I said, you're on for cleanup. And one of them looked at me and said, I'll never say yes, Bishop again. So we had a good laugh. And they did a great job and they cleaned up. And it became a bit of a joke about saying yes, Bishop through the weekend. And other people would say, okay, say yes, Bishop. But what it did was it established, because they said to me, one of them said, I'm never going to say yes, Bishop again. And I said, well, be careful, because sometimes saying yes, Bishop will be a good thing. And the fact is, it was a good thing, because I also told them that those who said yes, Bishop, and had to clean up would be the first ones to eat on Saturday morning, because it's a big thing. Which table or which cabin gets permission to go up and eat first? Because they're all starving, and everything's a competition, right? So that's a big thing. So those 5 young men all got to eat first after the firekeepers on Saturday morning. But through the weekend, we developed this relationship with Yes Bishop. This idea that when the bishop speaks, she needs to have integrity and she needs to be consistent, so that if I speak, I'm not showing them different messages. And that was really powerful, because through the weekend, I recognized that I was coming closer and closer to these kids. There's my executive archdeacon, who is my right and my left hand and both my feet and everything else around this office. Cheryl has been running the camp forever. She went to the camp as a kid. She grew up there. Her kids were there before they were born. Her daughter was hired completely, block wall, like nothing. She was hired without any input from Cheryl. She was cleanly hired to be the new camp administrator, camp coordinator. And now her daughter, who's a beautiful 20-year-old, mature young woman, is running the camp, and Cheryl is stepping back, and she's the camp committee chair. And so she's still involved, but she's stepping back a little bit. But these kids, a lot of them have known Cheryl since they were like 8 years old. From the day they went to junior camp and have now gone through intermediate and teen camp. Some of them are coming back to be counselors and mentors at camp. Some have come back to be staff at camp in the summer. And they were back this weekend. And they all love Mama C. They all love Cheryl. And it's incredible. And what's incredible is watching how they would look to Mama C to see how Mama C would deal with Bishop. And when they saw that Mama C, whom they trusted, trusts me, then they trusted me too. It was a real lesson and reminder about relationships and how important they are on so many different levels that we don't even pay attention to. And through the weekend, I discovered that I, who do not really like being hugged, like Rob and I don't even hug that very, very often. And so when we do, it's important. But like, I'm not a hugger. I'm really not. I never have been. But oh my heavens, was I ever hugged. And I walked around with my arms out like this all weekend because there was some young person who needed a hug. Somebody who was maybe away from home for the first time. Somebody, because we did actually have a couple of people who hadn't been to camp before. We had one young person who just showed up and got on the bus that we didn't know was coming. And it was amazing. And he learned so much. And I have a funny feeling he'll be coming back for teen camp next summer. It was beautiful. But the number of hugs we got, and I mentioned yesterday about the two young people whose Cookham, her grandmother, died. And the number of times I would get a hug, sometimes would be because I'd open my arms. And sometimes they would just attack me from behind and throw their little arms around me and give me a hug. Sometimes I get a high five or a down low. Sometimes I get a pat in the head. But just touching base because they learned that they could trust their bishop. I think, excuse me, sorry about that. I think there's some of them who don't actually know that my name is Rachel because they just called me Bishop all weekend. And we're now on Facebook together, and they're asking me for pictures from the weekend and chatting with me about things and commenting on pictures. And it's amazing on Facebook. It's amazing how quickly those relationships build when integrity is there. And it's not just integrity on my end. They built with integrity as well. I mentioned yesterday that, it might have been yesterday or today, that we had a little incident with somebody who was smoking in the boys' room. That sounds like a song from when I was about like in grade 1. Motley Crue, maybe, smoking in the boys' room. So it was absolutely ridiculous, but I took all the boys into the boys' room and said, we made sure it was empty first. Nobody was indecent. And I just said, hey, what can you smell? And they told me they could smell somebody smoking. And nobody ratted anybody out. But I told them, I said, nobody's in trouble. Nobody's in trouble. There's reasons why it's important that you not smoke in here. It's reasons why it's important that you be careful where you do smoke if you have to. Because I recognize that if you smoke at home, no judgment, no worrying about, none of them are old enough to smoke and things like that. But if you smoke at home and then try to go cold turkey for 4 days, it's going to be a rough 4 days. So I told them, if whoever it is was smoking needs to have a smoke, you come and tell me. And we'll go together someplace safe where no one else can see us. You can have your smoke. We'll dress your cigarette, but make sure it's put out properly. Find a place it's safe to put it, to dispose of it, not just leave it on the ground or start a forest fire or something. And we'll deal with it that way. And I asked that whoever it was that had been smoking would come to me and tell me before midnight, before bedtime. Midnight was not bedtime, but realistically speaking, but before the end of the night to come and talk to me. And lo and behold, a couple of young men came and spoke to me, and we discovered what had happened and who it was. And later in the weekend, they came and told me, so-and-so needs to have a smoke. I went and talked to him quietly. Nobody knew what we were doing. And he decided he didn't need to. Now, did he smoke the rest of the weekend? Probably. He just didn't get caught. However, they learned some lessons about an adult, a white adult, a priest-like person, a bishop, who spoke to them and honored who they were as people, who didn't speak down to them, who didn't accuse them of anything, who expected them to have integrity back, and who expected honesty, and who promised them that if they were honest with her and had integrity with her, they could receive and expect to receive the same from her. And we established a new way of being. Does it mean that everybody was well behaved the rest of the weekend? Absolutely not. They're boys. Of course they got into trouble and things, so the girls, back and forth. But it established some truth about how we can walk a new way. And I got to see these young men grow. I saw all of them walk out of that bathroom just an inch or two taller because they didn't get in trouble. They weren't screamed at. They weren't punished. They weren't threatened. We talked about how important it was to be careful and to be honest and not to be sneaky. How important it was to be faithful but also trustworthy and trusting. And they learned a little something about what the church could offer them. Something I don't know that they've been offered very often. The church can offer them a safe place. The church can offer them a place where they are welcome to be themselves. A place where the church can offer them a place where they are welcome to live into who they are becoming, even if they don't believe the things the church is saying, doing, offering. They are welcome in the church and its structures, whether they buy in or not. They will always be welcome. And that is a lesson I hope those young men learned. I think they did. I hope it's a lesson all the young ladies learned as well, and I think they did too. But it's a lesson I hope that as a bishop, other people will learn, so that when they say, yes, bishop, they will, wherever they are, whether it's my indigenous kids or my white kids, or it's, people from my congregations who are 90 years old, whoever it is, if they say, yes, bishop, they are knowing that yes, bishop will be returned in kind. That the church, that I, as a representative of the church, will do a new thing. That I will be one who will stand up and say, we will walk in a new way, a trustworthy way, a way that builds trust. That is my hope for this Feel Good Friday, that is truly what we will do in this diocese, what we will do at the camp, what we will do in each of our congregations, what I will do in this office every day. That together we might come back to that place that started 2,000 years ago, when the church was beautiful in and of itself, when it had integrity, when it had trust, when it wasn't about building up some other person or some other being other than Jesus Christ himself. That's my hope for the church. And that's my belief, is that we can do that. My belief is that we are doing that. Have a great day, everybody. I won't see you again, other than Sunday's Gospel on the Go. I won't see you again until Monday, a week from Monday. I don't have a clue what day what the date is. So that's the 13th, 20th, the 27th, 28th maybe, I think, the 28th. I'm away next week at House of Bishops and then Council of the North at a monastery in Niagara Falls. I used to live there. My little sister used to do gymnastics at that monastery on Saturday mornings. But I will be away gathering with the bishops of the Anglican Church of Canada, and then with the Council of the North to talk about our ministries and what we're doing and how we're called to do it. And I will be back Monday, whatever Monday that is, the 28th or something. For 1 week, I'll be back, and then I will be gone for all of November, pretty much, as I go to England for bishop school to learn how to do what I'm doing. Hopefully learn how to do it better. So God bless you. I will see you on Sunday and then in a week. And I hope you hang in with me. Have a great weekend, everybody.